There's April.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wire, Wire on Zoom, where everyone can be a woman. You know, remember, if we're live, you can only come to this meeting if you dress.
Dress in drag.
Drag. So welcome today, where you can dress anywhere you'd like. And if you did dress in drag for us, please, please, please put your camera on so we can see.
Please.
Please put your camera on anyway. If you do, you have a chance to win prizes as long as you're on time and have your camera on. You can see yourself in that photo and recognize yourself and win some Tria bucks. As you can tell, by our fun New Year's disco music, we're super excited about 2021. I'm Kathy Russell. Other board members we have on the call today are Karen Lewis, Leslie Ortiz, Jackie Richards, and then of course we have our esteemed subgroup leader, Audria, who we'll be turning things over to in just a minute. But we are so excited for 2021 because of all of our great new programs. Mentorship program. We now have all the mentors in place. However, it's not too late to sign up if you want to have a mentor. We do have a list, but they still have some slots. So if you're interested in a mentorship, get hold of Lionel Finley. I'll put his email in the chat in a minute here. Although it's too late if you're an experienced member, although we do have all the mentors now, you can still join the Tria Brain Trust. Brain Trust is a group of experienced investors who have been members, and you'll get the first opportunity for things like to be a mentorship program, which is a paid opportunity, or other special programs. We'll rely on you to be a leader in TRIA. You'll get special offers, and it's not too late to sign up for that. If you are interested, you have to fill out an application. If you are experienced and want to be part of the Brain Trust, stick us a note in the chat. We have our rehab tour coming up. It's limited to 50 people. That is going to be on February 20th, and we already have 31 signed up. So that is going fast. If you're interested, sign up. It's going to be from 10 to 1. You will tour 5 rehab properties within a 10-mile range of downtown Raleigh. Oh, I'm sorry, Sandy Spears on the call as well. I didn't see you before, Sandy. Sandy's another board member. I apologize for that. Anyway, it's going to be, you'll have a chance to tour 5 rehabs within a 10-mile radius of downtown Raleigh, and they'll be in all differing stages from just starting to almost finished. And as a matter of fact, we are still looking for one more house to be on the tour. So if you happen to have a rehab in that area that's just starting out, especially, or even if you just bought one, haven't really started yet, get in touch, and we would love to add.
Yeah, we'd really need one that's, if you've just purchased, gone under contract, or you just purchased one, we're really looking for one in the beginning stages. Yeah.
So earlier the better. What else are we looking for? We are looking to build our vendor member program. We've historically not done a lot with that. We've never really had the manpower. So we're looking for a vendor member coordinator, which is a paid position. We are also looking for vendors. And, you know, we want to build a list so that anything you need, you can look at it and there'll be a TRIA vendor member who might be offering you a deal or a discount. And so who do you like? Who do you like to get your tires from? Who do you like to do your hair? Who do you like to paint your houses? Who do you like for roofs? Whatever it is that you use in your life and you like a certain person who provides that for you, every TRIA member needs that probably. So send us your suggestions to triaprojects@gmail.com. And we will, if they become a vendor member, you'll get a little kickback. You'll get a little commission. So send us your favorite vendors. Who do you like? Or if you know someone who's interested in that vendor member coordinator position, that would be great too. And last but not least of my announcements is PREP. PREP is another new, all of these are new programs for 2021, by the way. Vendors obviously is not new, but it's newly invigorated. But PREP is super awesome. And we had there's 2 parts to PREP, virtual and in person. We had the first PREP virtual last week. PREP virtual is where we're going to take a basic topic and break it down for you, walk you through it step by step. Last week, we did how to fill out a purchase contract. We went over like 5 different contracts. Everybody who was in the meeting got copies of the contracts. And we are going to be sending out an email with a list of upcoming topics we have. We're going to ask you which ones interest you, what order you'd like to see them in, and to send us any suggestions you have. So it's going to be things like how to invest with a self-directed IRA, how to use a tax website to get comps, how to use a tax website for free to get unpaid property tax properties, and how to do estimates. So it's basic things like this that we're going to not just talk about, from a higher level, like sometimes the speakers do, but we are going to walk you through it step by step and do it with you. That's Prep Virtual. Prep in person has two parts. Prep Wholesale, which is getting ready to start. Applications are going out today, and that group is limited to 10 people, is actually going to wholesale a property. The tuition is $500. Prep Rehab is a little more complicated. It's a little, it's going to be starting up in a few weeks, and that tuition is $10,000. That class is actually going to buy a house, rehab it, and sell it. That will be the second time we've done that. The first time was a huge success, and all the students, in fact, Audria, your subgroup leader, was a student in that class. Sandy Spire, one of our board members, was a student in that class. So it was awesome. And I'm going to turn it over to Leslie to tell you what we have upcoming. But just so you know, all of these great new 2021 programs are things we could not do under our prior form of a C6. We switched. For those of you who are new, this will sound like Greek, but a couple years ago, we made a switch so that we could do these new projects for you. So if you are an older member and if you have signed something supporting any action about TRIA, just know that these programs would not exist if that action that you're supporting is successful. I'm only mentioning that because we've had some people who didn't understand that and were confused by what they've signed. That's all your announcements for today, Leslie. So up to you.
Okie dokie. Hey, smiley faces. Thanks for joining in today. This is January gone. Like, what? Anyway, the whole month be gone. And we had some really good meetings this month. February coming up. I don't know if everybody tuned into the news yesterday, and they have extended the restrictions statewide. So apparently the numbers are not coming down as quickly as they would like. So to keep all of our members safe, we're always looking out for you. We are going to continue Zooming for the foreseeable future. Being said, next week, running into February, we did a little switcheroo for next month, and TRIA South on Tuesday night we're now going to, TRIA South for February is going to be networking. So anybody that wants to get on next Tuesday night, we're going to have breakout rooms, just like we have the groups at the main meeting. And you can go into whatever breakout room you like. You can go between breakout rooms and talk to people. Let's do some networking, make some deals. And that's why we like to have your cameras on during the subgroup meetings, because that way, when you go into the networking, people recognize you, that you've been on the meetings, and they know that you're serious about this. So that'll be.
Sorry to interrupt you, Leslie.
Yeah.
And you can win stuff, because I missed this in the chat when I was doing my announcement. So April Williams saw herself and won 10 TRIA bucks. Yay!
Yay!
Sorry, Les.
That's okay. No, that's important. That's very important. And that's why we ask y'all to just put your smiley face on the camera. We don't care if you're having a bad hair day. We don't care if you're trying to scarf down some lunch before your next appointment. We don't care. We just want to see you. And then next week, TRIA Fayetteville has moved to the first week of the month from the second week. So this first Thursday of every month from now on is going to be TRIA Fayetteville. So we're all going to Fayetteville next Thursday. And of course, that's with Cheryl. And she's a font of information, as you know, if you've been on any of her meetings in the past. And next week, Cheryl has told me that she is going to give us some information on must-have apps. And she knows her apps, let me tell you. And this will increase your productivity, give you great information, and that will be available next Thursday evening at 6 p.m. So sign up for that one. And the rest of the calendar for February will be going up, and I'll be posting topics and speakers, et cetera, et cetera. So just keep checking your calendar of events. And take it away, Miss Audria.
Okay, sounds like we have an action-packed month ahead of us.
We do.
Yeah. Well, everybody, thank you for joining us for WIRE. Again, I'm your subgroup leader, Audria Lynch. And I wanted to say before I introduce our speaker, I'm really excited about this topic as someone who's about to put their house literally on the market. This topic is important. I mean, is important because I don't want to over improve, don't want to spend too much money on it, but I want to get the maximum value. So so with that said, I know a bunch of you are going to have a ton of questions and everything. I'm going to have a ton of questions. So if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. And Leslie has not Leslie. I'm sorry, Leslie. I'm looking at Leslie. Ingrid has graciously said that she would answer some questions. So hold your enthusiasm, put them in the chat. So before we do that, before we take questions, I'm gonna let Ingrid take it away. So Ingrid is not only a rehabber, an investor, she is also an appraiser. This this is pretty valuable stuff. So Ingrid, before I'm gonna let you take it away.
Sure. Hi, I'm Ingrid Ruiz. I'm looking at all the faces, and I know a few of you, but I'm amazed at how TRIA continues to like evolve and grow, because I've been a member since, I don't remember if it was 2006 or 2007 because it was that long ago. And so many faces are, just new year after year after year. So hello, Suzanne, I recognize you. there are a few people I know from the last few years, but great to meet all of you. So yes, my history with houses is long. I love real estate. It's sort of a little addiction for me. And I realized I had this weird epiphany a couple of years ago that I played Monopoly like a crazy person when I was a kid. I loved Monopoly. I was like, I need more houses. I need more houses. And I had no idea that was going to kind of become my life as I was an older adult. So I'm also a landlord. So on top of everything, yes. So we have been actively investing. Well, I've been a landlord, owned rental houses since the late 90s. So we're going on over 20 years on that. It was the early 2000s that I became an appraiser in 2003, 2004. And it was from there that I started rehabbing, because I continually did appraisals where I was searching for comps, and I would find a comp that, let's say, it just closed last month, but it also closed 10 months ago or 11 months ago as a complete disaster. And I'm looking at these before and afters. I mean, this was just over and over and over again in that 2004, 5, 6, 7 time period. And I was like, well, I can do that. I mean, shoot, put in a new kitchen, open up a wall, replace some windows, not a big deal, right? And make tens and tens of thousands of dollars. So we trotted off to SunTrust Bank back in the good days, pre-2008, and I actually got $1 million line of credit from SunTrust. So we were flipping houses with bank money that was cheap, easy, and fast until 2008, when the whole world changed. Since then, we have primarily, we have rehabbed some homes that we've kept as rentals. We've primarily flipped inside my husband's self-directed IRA. So we touch a lot of things here. I also manage my own rental properties using Yardi Breeze, and I actually work for Yardi Systems by day. I'm supposedly working for another company right now, but doing this, don't tell my boss. So all that said, we've rehabbed about 25 or 30 houses. We have 5 rentals right now. We're about to close on 2 more this spring. And we literally just rehabbed one of our rentals, and I'm going to show you guys some pictures of that. But let me show my screen, because what I want to start with is, there we go. I call this can you guys see the thing that says, let me just make sure. It starts with certified real estate appraiser at the top. Do y'all see? Not yet. Hold on. I don't think I'm sharing the right screen. Give me a second.
Yep, we can see it.
Are you seeing this one with says some things never change? Or are you seeing a list of files?
Some things never change.
Oh, good. Okay, because it's weird because this Zoom is not highlighting my screen the way my work Zoom does. So I can't tell that this is actually what I'm showing. So I've presented this at other TRIA meetings in the past, but I'm going to go over it real quick before we launch into some, because we get down into some of these like do's and don'ts. Because some of y'all are interested in rehabbing, and I know y'all were talking about, your own house, putting it on the market. There's some differences if it's going to be your own house versus something you're going to resell. But some things to really look for if you're buying a rehab. And again, our market is so tight right now that sometimes you don't have a choice of getting the perfect house. You're not going to, because if it's a perfect rehab, somebody else probably paid too much for it and got it before you did. But some things that are really, really hard to work around, and if you're a newer investor, you should probably avoid. Definitely flood zones. I would definitely avoid anything that's in a flood zone. Flood insurance ends up being something that's negotiated and changed by Congress, and we all know how those things go. There was a time period in 2000, early 2010s, I don't know if it was 10, 14, somewhere in there, that flood policies were costing upwards of $7,000 a year for a house. So how are you going to rehab and sell a house that comes with a $7,000 a year price tag, besides the person's mortgage and insurance and all of that? I remember talking to an investor back then who was looking at a house for a rental. He was going to rehab and rent. And on the flood maps, it looked like it was just like underwater. I mean, it was literally in just this blue zone. And I said, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, because you have to think about, can you cash flow on a rental if you yourself are having to pay a really expensive flood policy? So flood zones, busy streets are actually becoming less of a problem these days as our market has really tightened and there's not a lot of inventory. I'm seeing things on busy streets going for almost as much as the ones, inside the subdivision. Bad neighborhood, that's up to you to decide what a bad neighborhood is. It can just be that there's a bunch of junk cars parked on the street. The rental of mine that I'm about to show you that we just rehabbed, it's at the very, very end of a street, and going down, it's in Chapel Hill right near the university. Going down that street, there are some just horrible houses. A few of them that have had like dumpsters, overflowing dumpsters parked in front of them, for years, not months, years. I don't know if somebody forgot their dumpster or what. I mean, it looks terrible, but on the other hand, this is walking distance to the university. So how terrible is it? So, those are some kinds of things. I personally don't like to rehab houses in a neighborhood where I don't feel safe going to the house, working on it myself. Right? Like I would feel like I have to lock myself in, or I feel like there would be a high crime presence for me personally. So just keep that in mind. This is another weird one that differs by our submarkets, and submarkets are, we're all in the triangle, but we've got Chapel Hill, Durham, we've got, Raleigh inside the Beltline, we've got North Raleigh, we've got Cary, we've got Garner, right? We have all these submarkets and they all have a different sort of flavor and appeal to them. I know that in Cary and parts of North Raleigh, this whole steep driveway thing it's weird. And it's sort of, part of it's sort of a realtor myth, but just be very careful that either you're getting a good price, you're not gonna have to do a lot of rehab, maybe you're keeping it for rental for a while. But if you're gonna do a direct flip, you may get some resistance to a house either that's way down in like an embankment, right? So the house is sort of in the hole, or it's so far up that people are kind of afraid to back down their driveway because they're parked on top of the hill. And there are a lot of realtors who will actually just steer clients away. They'll pull up and they'll say, oh, you don't want that house with a steep driveway, and drive off. So shared driveways are not necessarily a problem. We flipped a house in Chapel Hill, in Carborough years ago, and didn't actually know this was one of my one of my early ones. So it was one of my newbie mistakes. And it had a shared driveway. I was lucked out in that the lady next door, so we were a corner lot, and we had a shared driveway with the lady directly next door on the same fronting street. Had she not agreed to enter into a shared driveway agreement, which we did have a lawyer write up, we did record with the Orange County Register of Deeds, and she had no problem with it because she actually had a driveway on the other side of her house. So she's like, I never even used that one. The fact that it's halfway on my property, she goes, I don't care. And she was an owner occupant and she lived there, and we very, very much lucked out that she was that easy, and there was no money involved. I just paid for the lawyer and for the recording because I wanted the shared driveway agreement to be able to sell the house with all the documents in place. But had she not been agreeable, we would have had to go to, the town of Carborough and get an apron cut and permits for a driveway and all that on the side street. Luckily, we were a corner lot. So that's just something to really be careful about when you're buying homes to flip, is to make sure you really do your due diligence and you find out, every little thing. The power lines, I mean, this isn't just the ones that go from the street to the house, which we don't really have around here in Wake County. They're mostly underground, but in Chapel Hill, for example, I have power lines right outside my houses. I'm talking about the big, 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 ugly ones that cast a shadow. They definitely reduce value in an appraisal. So even if you have the nicest rehab, it could sell for less just because somebody's next to those power lines. And then anything that's landlocked, those maybe way out in some of the other counties, maybe like, a double wide way out in one of the other counties, and you get that shared driveway agreement or an easement. But it gets, again, you're getting yourself in a position of possibly having an obstinate person get in the way of your sale when you're ready to sell it. Reminds me of one that I sold outside of Chapel Hill. No easement or problems with the lot. It was actually a 1.25 acre lot outside of Chapel Hill in Orange County, but districted into the Chapel Hill school system. So it was a really prime piece of land, nice cedar house. I bought it from a friend of a friend, needed minor rehab, minor. I mean, this was one of our great deals early on. We put less than $20,000 into it, maybe about 15, 18,000, and we cleared about 60,000 on it. So it was a nice one. And it was all cosmetics because the house had been a custom built house that was really, its bones were really good. But we lost, I think it was 2 buyers, because the next door neighbor came running over when they saw a realtor there and said, well, have you looked at this? Have you looked at that? Do you know that those people just quickly threw a bunch of paint on this the last 3 months? I mean, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, I'm about to sell a house for way more than you think your house is worth, which is good for you because it's your next door neighbor. It brings up your property values and it's a comp if you want to refinance. What are you doing? So we had people just go, freak out. We finally got a buyer that insisted that we do some, we had to totally redo the crawl space, with steam cleaning it and microbial this and that and all that, because the next door neighbor told them they thought there was mold in the crawl space. By the way, the next door neighbor had never been in the crawl space. So, the less you have to deal with neighbors or other people, the better, because they can be hard on your deal when you go to sell. Curable, this is what's called in the appraisal world, curable depreciation. These are things that you can change with time and money, and it depends on how much time and how much money and what that, what that end result is going to be. These days, I would say that most things you're going to buy are going to have really slim margins unless you're just really, really lucky. There's not a lot out there to buy. People are overpaying for garbage. And I don't mean just investors. I mean regular people. And I'm doing these appraisals, and the support is there in the market. I mean, I can't say because I think they're overpaying that it's a problem. If there's support, if 3 houses on the street, 3,000 square foot houses just sold for $300,000, yes, $300 a square foot, and this one is selling for the same, well, there's evidence, and it's gonna, I'm gonna be able to do that in an appraisal and say, yes, it's worth that, because the market has told me from those closed comps that it's worth that. But I look at that and I go, are you kidding me? $300 a square foot in, Apex? I don't know. It still kind of blows me. I'm kind of getting to be an old crotchety woman where it's like, these things are so expensive today. These young kids are paying too much. So, but it's our market. It's what's happening. It's what we have to live with. So be very careful about getting yourselves into anything that's expensive. Floor plan issues actually look the worst. And I'm going to actually show you one that I just did. Look the worst and sometimes be the cheapest to fix. Swimming pool removal, I've not done. I've seen it done. It terrifies me. You're talking about bringing in a lot of dirt and doing a lot of landscaping that can get expensive. It's kind of surprising how much yard and land and hardscaping work costs. Permitting or lack thereof, just be very careful about what you're going to permit, what you're not going to. Lead paint, if you're going to keep something as a rental, I mean, it's one thing if you're going to flip it, you just do the lead paint disclosure. Done. you know, a buyer agrees that the house was built in 1940 and might have lead paint, then everybody's fine with that. But be very careful if you're going to own it long term, and that you know what you're getting into, because the abatement of lead paint is very expensive. Any kind of drainage or water problems, it may be worth having a structural engineer. We've actually used structural engineers a lot. They are, for what you get from them, they're not expensive, because you can find out about really catastrophic problems. You can find out about things you're just that look catastrophic, like huge pools of water all around the foundation, and it's like not a big deal. You're going to just change the grading with a little like Caterpillar and a landscaping guy. And we actually did that to a rehab. It didn't cost us, but I don't know, $800 or $900 to kind of regrade around the house. And again, something that we made like $50,000 or $60,000 on. So spending an extra $1,000 to make sure that the crawl space wasn't going to flood was not a big deal. Foundation issues are actually one of those. I've done tons of houses with foundation issues, but only get into that if you're going to get that structural engineer involved and you're planning to follow what he says and you're planning to pay for the work, the letter with his stamp and his seal at the end. And I say he, I don't mean to be sexist, but most structural engineers, all of the ones I know have been male. If there's a female one, I'd love to know, because we're always looking for new people to work with. But you get that signature and that seal, and what that does is the municipal inspectors cannot override that. They can't say, well, you have to change this or that in your crawl space, or I don't like your floor joist, or blah, 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 blah. That is like the word of God to get the structural engineer and his seal on a letter that says, this house is done. They did what I said. It's perfect. And you know, you're going to get grumblings and dirty looks from, we've had this in Raleigh, we've had this in Orange County, we've had this in a number of jurisdictions where they're like, oh, you got a structural engineer, because they wanted to pick on us and they couldn't get away with it. So the things that always add value. So for those of you who are either working on your own house, which by the way, I'm working on my own house too, and I have one bathroom left to do, and some flooring upstairs. You know, you guys know this because you've read it everywhere, right? Kitchens, bathrooms, flooring, opening up areas, getting rid of wallpaper and painting, although wallpaper is coming back in small pieces in things like half baths. But more than wallpaper, I see a lot of the shiplap wall and other wall paneling done as accent walls. And we're actually about to do that in a rehab we have going on in North Durham that we're working on with our son. The house is just kind of too, because we're doing all new sheetrock and everything, we had to take it down to the studs. It's kind of too sterile. So we're going to put some like rustic type shiplap, or I might even do, this is something to think about too. If you're trying to get sort of that rustic charm in a house that doesn't have it, there is tile that it's brick, but it's 1/8 of an inch thick. And literally whoever your tile setter is can use it like tile. We actually did it to the front, the foundation of a front porch at a house in the Lockwood area of Raleigh a few years ago, because most of the houses around there were vintage and older, but this house wasn't. It was like built in the 80s, and it sort of stuck out as like, I'm new and not that cute. So we're like, well, we have to make it cute. So we put gingerbread in the gable of the front porch. And then the guy who did our tile in our bathrooms literally brick fronted the front porch, as opposed to it being like concrete block that was painted, which was really tacky. And it made all the difference. And it was as easy as, like I said, whoever can tile, they're just tiling with brick and with mortar instead of with tile and grout.
Hey, Ingrid, we have a question for you from April Williams.
Sure.
She wants to know, what about a house with a history, with a meth history? She's heard that that's costly and sometimes cannot be cleaned.
Yeah, unless you get an estimate on cleaning it, that's an estimate you can live with. I have not personally done a meth house. I have actually seen them over the years appraising. There were some telltale signs, like the crawl spaces being full of like milk jugs, and it was really weird. But I would say it's all about money and time. So get the estimate and see what it would cost, because it could be such a dog that nobody wants it and you get it for a steal. And yeah, you might spend $10,000 on, you know, remediating that. But what if you got it for $30,000 less than somebody else would have paid? You know what I mean? That it should have been sold for. So it's all a matter of how those numbers add up. But I mean, if you can get somebody who's going to certify a remediation, then I mean, I'm all for remediating almost anything. We had in this one house in Carborough, we had this giant tree that had actually lifted up the foundation in one corner, and you know, people again look at that and go, oh no, well, you take the tree out and you fix the foundation. And it really wasn't. I think that whole exercise cost us about, between the tree and fixing it, maybe $2,000. Like, in the scheme of things, not a lot when you're rehabbing a house that you're going to spend 30 or 40,000 on. So be careful with it, but by all means, you know, get an estimate and get a couple of estimates. And speaking of estimates, always get a couple of estimates. So the house I'm about to show you in 1 second that we just rehabbed in Chapel Hill, I got an estimate on the plumbing for $8,500. Then I got an estimate on the plumbing for $3,500. Same scope of work. Be very careful you're giving everybody the same scope of work for what they're going to do. That's a big difference. Likewise, we just got an estimate for our other rehab on hardwood flooring for $4,500, but we know the guy who normally does it for us. We know what his prices are, and he would be about $2,500. We just can't get in touch with him. For some reason, he's not, you know, that happens. Those of you who rehabbed a lot know that you may use people for a long time and then they just kind of go dark on you. They either change phones or they move, or they're, I don't know. We're always very good to our workers. We have insurance on the house. We have lock boxes. They're welcome to leave their tools and their work items in the house. We always pay them promptly, but I will tell you, don't think that you're going to get a Robin Thompson team in place that's going to work for you for 20 years. In the almost 20 years that we've been rehabbing, we've probably we only keep workers for about 3 to 4 houses. And then I just say they go bad. I don't know what it is. They either they don't call you back or they do something catastrophic that you can't work with them again, like stealing.
Or their prices go up unexpectedly for some odd and unexplainable reason.
I'll tell you why that is.
Oh, I know why it is.
I'm about to embark on it again because I really need some work done at my house, and there's a guy I want to do it, but I have a feeling it'll be the last job I am able to get him to do. It's going to be when they see where you live.
Mm-hmm.
I live in a 3,000 square foot house in Cary. Now, knowing who I am, I'm a flipper, I'm a landlord, I'm a rehabber, I'm an appraiser. Did I pay market price for this? Oh, no. I got this house for a steal in December of 2017. Long story about how I did it, but let's just say, 3,000 square foot, all brick house in Woods of Kildare, that is the neighborhood that backs up to McGregor Downs. So people go, oh, she lives in this big brick house in a rich neighborhood. She's got money. Not true. I got 6 adult kids that are milking me dry. I'm going to be lucky to retire if I can just get these kids off the dole. But on the outside, it appears that we're wealthy. And that's what happens. Once they figure that you've got money, the prices go up inexplicably to these market, quote unquote, market retail prices. And you really shouldn't be paying retail for rehab type work because, again, the workers are working in circumstances that are better for them. They can come and go when they please. They can work nights and weekends. They can leave their tools there. They can leave their mess until they're done at the end. Unlike if they're working in an occupied home, think about painters. They're working in an occupied home. It takes them a half an hour to set up in the morning and an hour to clean up in the evening. Because all the drop cloths and washing their brushes and blah, 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 and packing all their stuff up and putting it in their truck. They don't waste all of that time. Plus, like this last house I worked on, a lot of these guys were coming nights and weekends in doing just little pieces of the job in and around their other big, day job kind of work. So they're getting a benefit of working for a rehabber on a vacant house. And also just a looser scope of work. They know I'm not going to be all over them like, Betty homeowner, nitpicking, what about that corner? Are you going to do that corner? Well, what about that one? It's a different, work relationship, and they should value it. I just am telling you personally, we have a couple of workers we have worked with for 10 or 12 years, knock on wood. But most of them, we get maybe 3 or 4 houses out of them, and we have to find somebody else. I would say be prepared to have to pay a market rate. I have gone to Carey Plumbing before because I just had to get the plumbing done. So I had to pay the market rate. But yeah, so that was one, so that's, the tale of two estimates, right? 2,500 versus 4,500 on flooring, 3,500 versus 8,500 on plumbing. Just, know that you need to get a few estimates on just about everything. But these are the things you want to do. Likewise, popcorn ceilings in our own house. I told you it's 3,000 square feet. When we bought this in December 17, we got an estimate for $13,500 to strip all the wallpaper, paint all the walls one color, paint all the trim white, and unpopcorn the ceilings. And then we got an estimate for $8,500 to do the same thing. You're living in behind me, the Repose gray walls, the $8,500 job. So, big differences. You guys all know the grays are still in. I know some people are dabbling in some other colors, but follow the trends that you see out in the market. Go to open houses if you can, if you feel comfortable. It's hard to do now with the pandemic, so you have to do more online. But as much as you can, look and see what's going on, in the market. The grays with the white cabinets that are still in. I know that the navy blue cabinets came in for the kitchen. I don't know if that's going to come or go. I usually stick to really boring things that, and then dress it up with staging for selling, because you can get all your color in with staging. So, keeping everything more neutral just is going to appeal to the market. Obviously your trim, your flooring. This is a big one. Update systems as necessary and in balance with the cosmetic updates. I used to do a Tria talk about what I used to call a half-hab. You got to really be careful about getting yourself into a situation of a half-hab. And a half-hab is you ran out of money and you can only do half of what needed to be done. So let's take the most extreme circumstance and you go into an older home, and I say older, let's say 25, 30 years plus, and you decide that all the systems are working. So you're just going to do the cosmetics, and you really do those cosmetics up, and it is beautiful. The kitchen, the bathroom, it's just really, except then you get a buyer who does their inspections and they're being told, and this actually happened to a friend of mine, and it was in 2017 when it was so hard to buy houses, and they bought it anyway. And I was just like cringing. It was exactly like a 25-year-old house that no major system whatsoever had ever been touched. And I said, Katie, you're looking at anywhere from $20,000 to $40,000 of major systems in the next 5 years. Are you prepared to do that? Does this house mean that much to you? And she was looking at it as an owner occupant to move into it. But your roof, your HVAC, your windows and siding, possibly some electrical and plumbing, all of these things are going to start to go. The roof and the HVAC have absolute life on them. If you get 20 or 25 years out of a gas pack, you're doing great. If it's a heat pump, they could go by 10 years. So if a 20-year-old house could be on its second heat pump, and you're looking at the death of it in the next couple of years. So be very, very careful. But on the other hand, you don't have to do major systems that are still really functioning well, and you can get them repaired and functioning. Get that furnace cleaned, get the ducts cleaned. I just actually had to do that at a house. One of the things we love doing is doing the crawl space. Get the crawl space guy to come do the insulation, the floor insulation, and the new vapor barrier, and get it all nice and taped up to the sides and up to the piers. There's a reason for that, and do that as the very, very last thing you do before you put it on the market. The buyer's home inspector can't untape and look under that vapor barrier. They're going to look in there, they're going to smell brand new plastic from the vapor barrier. It's going to be clean and fresh. That crawl space is going to look like somebody could eat dinner on it. And there's not a thing they can do to tear it apart and look at anything else. And so it's like, oh, wow, crawl space is great. Otherwise, they're sticking all those little probes in and telling you that you have 19% moisture instead of 16% moisture, and then telling you that you have to do, a god awful expensive crawl space job where we just had one done for $1,800. So they don't have to be a lot. And likewise, on that same house, I got an estimate for $8,500. So of course I took the 1,800. Again, get your estimates. But all in all, when, I always tell people stage homes, like I said, use the neutrals and then stage homes. for the color. Don'ts, big don'ts. I would not finish a basement. I mean, other than for your own use, you move into a house and it's a basement and you need a rec room for your kids or your dogs or your hobbies. You're not going to make the money back finishing a basement on a rehab. And that comes from Fannie Mae requirements on appraisals. Below grade square footage has to be treated differently than above grade square footage, period. I mean, it has to be. And it will be very rare that the market will show that below grade square footage is worth as much as above grade. And it's not an appraiser just deciding, it's actually statistics from the market will show that. The only exception to that rule, and we don't have it in our market, is up in the mountains. In a lot of mountain houses, every single floor almost is below grade, right? You only have one place to walk in, and then you're going to have all your living areas, your bedrooms and everything, but they're literally all on a mountainside and they all have a view. That is the only exception to the rule where those are all going to be considered almost like above grade, and it's just because of the geography. But we actually, this one finished we had a house, we bought a house to rehab and the garage was already finished, but it looked not good. Like it had like indoor outdoor carpeting and, but because it was already finished, the heating and cooling, it was already run to it and some things like that. We went ahead and just really, really dolled it up and kept it finished. And there was no real adverse, effect to us doing that. But I wouldn't go out of your way to do that on a rehab. Say, oh, I'm going to get 400 more square feet by finishing this two-car garage. Now you're the only house in the neighborhood without a garage. So, be very careful of that. If you're going to do this is one of the things we love to do. We've done walk-up attics probably half a dozen times, right? Because that's square footage that already exists in a house that's just not finished. You've got the staircase, you've got the roof, you've got the subfloor. Just make sure you do it with permits and a structural engineer if you're going to do anything like add a dormer. We usually add a dormer, so we get an engineer to scope that out. But that's great square footage to finish. Just do it right and make it look good. Don't ever spend too much on landscaping. We already talked about that. For some reason, those guys are some of the most expensive. I don't know why. They're working outdoors in the sunshine. Seems like a great job, but you need, few bushes, paint things, make them look nice. The cutting edge, it depends on the market you're in. If you're lucky enough to get something inside the belt line and the neighbors all have, really wild tile and things like that, you looked at the listings and you saw what they looked like, go for it. But otherwise, staying in that middle of the bell curve in terms of taste and design and style is gonna be safer. Be very careful about finishing extra square footage poorly or cheaply. The rule in the appraisal world is whether it is finished to the same quality and the same level as the other existing square footage. So that goes for basements, attics, and then like say turning a sunroom into finished space. Be very careful that it looks as good as the rest of the house.
Hey, Ingrid, another question for you if this is a good spot. April Williams wants to know, does it cost a great deal more to fix foundation issues with in-ground basement, say a wall that's caving inwards, than a typical foundation fix?
Yeah. Actually, my stepdaughter and her husband did rehab a house in Raleigh that they did have a basement wall caving in, and I'm trying to remember how much that cost them, but absolutely, because they actually have to jack that wall back out, and there's a lot more. I would get the estimates on it if you can before you commit yourself to that. Again, unless you're buying the house for $30,000 but it does, because think about that, it's a lot more foundation to deal with and a lot more excavating to do from the front side if they have to pull the dirt away, because that pressure is pushing in. But I've seen houses, I've actually appraised houses where that was done, and then they put these almost like just wood posts. They're almost like the 6x6s that would almost like hold up a deck, and then they kind of brace it and hold it in. In the house, I remember appraising like that. It was an unfinished basement, so I could see all of that. But if you finish it all like my daughter and her husband did, it all turned out. They did it with permits. They got somebody professional, and then they sheetrocked it all, and it turned out beautiful. And everything, they flipped the house, and it passed inspections and everything. But just again, be really careful. It will cost more because it's just a lot more to deal with. So, And yeah, be careful about upgrading too nicely for a rental. You know, if you're gonna keep them, if you're gonna, you know, buy and hold for a while. And you know, it's another strategy for y'all to think of too. I mean, we've done this. Some of our rentals, actually, one of the reasons I'm kind of rehabbing them now is some of them we kind of bought and didn't do much to them. We just started renting them out. And then now, all these years later, that they're worth so much more just because the market's gone up. Like I'm about to get everything refinanced, so it kind of was perfect timing for me to go ahead and rehab this little rental. So can you guys see
So-
the house with the yellow door?
Nope, we still see your list, but while you're getting that up, you want me to give you another question?
Sure.
Derek Cox asks, as an appraiser, how do you determine what is adding value? If I send out 5 appraisers, they will all be different. How does a rehabber account for this when determining value?
Well, good question. So there are things we're supposed to do, and then there are things that many appraisers don't do. And all I can do is apologize for those who don't do their jobs correctly. And without slandering any particular group, I will kind of tell you that the older male appraisers are far less likely to take condition into account. They grew up in a time of appraisals where it was square footage, bedroom, bathrooms, age, and that was it. And you have to think about this arms race that I call it of condition, this you know, Magnolia Homes and this house, all these things didn't exist 20 and 30 and 40 years ago. And a nice house 20 and 30 and 40 years ago could have had wood paneling and olive green carpeting. It was just very, very well kept. And that meant that it was in good condition. So there are a lot of appraisers that are outdated in their thinking, and they don't understand that, yes, you put in new faucets and new light fixtures and you put in your gray paint and your white trim, and that was super cheap to do. You might have just spent a few $1,000s doing that, and you could have changed the value by, you could have spent 5,000 and changed the value by 20, right? Great investment, spend 5, make 15. So you don't get to pick your appraiser. One of the things I really recommend that everybody do, and I do it for, you know, our kids' houses, for my own houses, is you make a list of everything you did. I usually separate it into like exterior and major systems, and then interior and cosmetics. And I mean, put everything on that. Now, you're not going to see all of those things in the appraisal because there's only so many line items. But the point is, one, all the big things that you did, all regrading and landscaping and patio walls. You also added the roof, the HVAC, this and that, brand new, you know, 14 SEER, whatever you want to put. I get these lists all the time doing appraisals. So you're going to do that. And then you're going to put all those interior things all the way down to switched out all the door hardware and hinges to oil rub bronze, switched out all of the light fixtures, and updated the electrical panel to handle all the new electric, including the new microwave over the stove and the blah, 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 blah. So this should be at least an 8.5 by 11 page with all of those line items. And you want to make sure 3 different ways that the appraiser gets it. If they make their appointment through MLS showing time to come do the appraisal because you have it on the market, you make sure that you leave it out on the countertop and you have your agent who has the house listed, or yourself if you're the agent, email it directly to the appraiser. So that's 2 ways. And like I said, the third way would be if you happen to have gotten the appraiser's email address yourself, definitely email them the list. The reason is it's sort of insurance on the other end. If they come back with a value that really doesn't take the condition into account, and you can prove that you have all of these condition items that they were made aware of. I have one story where it was my niece, and I actually helped her do it, where she had a mortgage broker who fought for her. She actually got the value on her own house on a refinance changed on the appraisal from $400,000 to $440,000. And I was gonna say, don't count on it, but I have seen it done because the appraiser just did not take into account really critical things. But you have to do your homework. Of course, the house needs, if it's a refinance, if it's your own house, go ahead and stage it like you were for sale. I'm going to tell you that we're people. We're supposed to overlook the mess, the smell, the dog, but you have to really think about the psychology of it. if a person comes into your house and it is messy and smelly and they're stepping over dirty laundry, and I mean, one I thought of was I was having a, early in the pandemic, I only went into this lady's house because she is a loan officer for a company that I do a lot of appraisal work for. And I told them, like, I don't want to touch anything, like open all your closet doors, turn on all your lights. The house was just absolutely full of crap. The kids touched me, the dog touched me. I had to move bicycles out of the way of closet doors. I mean, and it got to the point where it was like, you don't want to anger the appraiser, because again, we're only human, and so think about how beautiful a house is when you go into a house that's on the market, like retail on the market, and it's been staged and it smells good. That does affect people. It shouldn't. And I'm telling you right now, it shouldn't. It's not right, and it shouldn't. We should be able to look past the grunge, but just do your homework, mind your P's and Q's, and make sure the appraiser has every single piece of information about what you did to the house. Better yet, if you can provide comps, if your realtor has found comps, but comps have to be comps. Comps have to be nearby, the same size, the same age, not, oh, I'm selling my house for $400,000 and look, there's this $800,000 house 4 miles away that's painted the same color. That's a comp. No, it's not. So, if you have somebody that can provide you comps to put out, this is the little secret. Appraisers have to consider, not saying that they have to agree with or use, but they have to review, analyze, and consider any information that's given to them about the subject property they're appraising.
So someone is asking if you could share that guideline checklist. I guess the one you have on the screen, maybe they mean.
Well, I have this. Yes, this, I can definitely give you this. This was something that I did. Yeah. And how do you guys want to distribute that? Do you want me to?
If you can send it to triaprojects@gmail.com, we can send it to everyone who's on this meeting.
And one thing you're gonna see, I did this a really long time ago. And because it's a PDF and I can't find the original, I've never been able to get rid of that date. So I'll figure it out. I'll re-PDF it and get rid of the date. But it's true. Some things never change, but definitely. And it's funny. I wrote this back then. Money is cheap. Oh my gosh, money's even cheaper now. So this I do have in here, like an appraisal could stop your sale unless you buy smart, rehab conservatively, and market reasonably. But absolutely, I'll send that to you guys afterwards. And then let me share the screen because I want to show you this little house we just did because it turned out so good and it's got a lot of fun. Okay, it is got a lot of fun little things we ended up doing. So the funny story that I told everybody before the meeting started. So it looks a little. This is one of our rental houses in Chapel Hill. As you can see, so the sisters that lived in it for about 3 years moved out this summer. And we decided, because of the weird things with the university, I mean, normally they moved out June 30th. We would have just cleaned, mowed the lawn, cut the kudzu, and thrown some more tenants in there prior to August 1st, because that's the market in Chapel Hill. If you're not rented by August 1st, classes normally start August 15th-ish, you're out of luck for the whole school year. But we said, you know what? They say kids are coming back to school, but, they're going to send them home. Sure enough, I predicted it. They sent them all home in 2 weeks. So we said, let's go ahead and just do a little work. And I'm not kidding you. I am totally not kidding you. The little work we were going to do was the broken tiles. So I want you to notice in the bathroom, I don't have a real good picture of the whole bathroom here, but I want you to notice it's one of those shotgun, and here's more broken tiles. Shotgun bathrooms. You walked in, behind this door was a closet facing the living room that was on the other side. Here was a closet in the bathroom. This odd thing of the toilet with then a pedestal sink opposite it, really almost no room to walk through there to get to the tub. So we had bought very cheaply and were working on the house next door to this house in 2007. And the owner of this house was a graduate student, and things were starting to go bad in the market, and she owned a condo in Florida, and she had renters there that had bailed on her. So she came over to the guy who was working on our house and said, like, are you the owner? I want to talk to the owners. And he put us in touch, and she was like, do you want to buy my house too? Because I have to move back to Florida. And she was working on her master's thesis so she could do from home in Florida. So this was an owner occupied house. And so she, you know, she took off, we bought her house, and we pretty much didn't do a lot. So we did do these tile floors that cracked. I was taking further. So I want you to also kind of look at this kitchen. Here's the laundry. That's the fridge. Again, these pictures were not meant for this purpose. They were meant for like, oh God, these tile floors look terrible. We have to do something about it. See how terrible they look? But now you can see one of the things we did back then, we had put in the new cabinets. We had tiled the wall. So this is the before. So this is what was done in 2007. So to show you a few pictures of the kitchen, you know, some up fronts of the tile, get back to the front. Well, as we opened up the floors to work on, there were all sorts of things like this floor joist was like rotted out and falling down in. This one was cut to clear the water heater. So these are things that happen. And this all started as we're just going to redo some flooring. So, and then we decided to open up the wall that was between the kitchen and the living room. I'll show you a floor. See that wall?
Mhm.
It's gone now. So again, this was like, okay, well, we're going to have to do some floor joists. We're going to have to move the water heater. So this goes on. You can tell these floor joists look absolutely terrible. So we move on. And we get into the bathroom, and I was like, well, the floor's really bad in here too. It was soft. Next thing you know, the floors come out, the tubs come out, and we've rebuilt the foundation under the bathroom. We ripped out one of the closets. There you can see ripped out. And so what happened was I sent this diagram actually to the plumber. I took my floor plan and I said, we're moving the water heater in the crawl space to under here. We're moving the vanity over to here. We're moving the washer and dryer over to here, making like a washer dryer closet in the hallway and opening up the kitchen and living room. So all this work, I'm kind of going a little bit fast because it's lots of boring, ugly pictures. Here was the bathroom finally being worked on. And by the way, these are concrete block houses, both of them. So you can see it's not the exterior walls, like everything had to be furred to be able to deal with like putting in the new tub. The kitchen, you know, finally with its new subfloor. So this, we started the work in October and we just finished it in January. We built a laundry closet now, right, to open onto the hallway, and because we had opened this up, and who wants a washer and dryer floating? See, there's the back of the laundry closet looking towards the living room. So we did all this, and then this was all a swamp. I only took these pictures because I was sending them to my landscape guy to say, what can you do here? Because this is all like, just, you can't get in and out of the house without walking in a giant mud puddle. So now we have some in the middle pictures. So we kept the wall cabinets. We bought, and we ended up painting them. You'll see, we bought new base cabinets. I do this butcher block countertop a lot. It's cheap. A carpenter can do it. It can be sanded and like re-oiled if there's damage, or you just buy new ones. Because honestly, this is like maybe $400 worth of butcher block, maybe less, $300 because I got a cheap one. We kept the backsplash and I had it reglazed. This was probably one of the most expensive things I did. I will tell you, this whole reglazing of this backsplash cost $900, but it would have cost more than that to tear it all out and redo it all with new tile. So we did that. And then you're starting to see some work getting done in the new bathroom vanity, new sheetrock. And I'm going to finally get to the afters, more pictures of the yard being gross. So now we're going to finally get into my afters, which are kind of in backwards order. Here's the new bathroom. We couldn't get our tile setter for as much time as we needed him for, so we did not do tile flooring. Also, this is a hint, these are old wavy houses. We probably never should have done tile way back when, and we certainly shouldn't have done 18-inch tile, which was not my choice. The guy who rehabbed the house back in 2007 did not put the tile in that I asked for. Hence it broke, because they were big tiles on old wavy floors. So this is LVP. It's going to be nice and flexible. We did do the tile backsplash, new vanity. get you some more pictures here. We took out that one closet so that we were able to get a double vanity in here. This is that existing closet, turned it into shelves. We actually have 4 Carolina freshmen living in the house now as our tenants, and they were so thrilled to see that they each got like a little dorm bathroom shelf for their stuff. I just kind of was nice on this one because they're like really sweet girls. So here we go. That's the bathroom, and we, because it's very narrow going in, went ahead and put the barn door on, which they absolutely love too. Again, these are tenants, they're not buying it, but I'm about to get this house appraised for a refinance. So it's going to look, you know, top of the line. Here's the kitchen done. Yay. Like I said, we just painted the wall cabinets, reglazed over the existing tile. These are new base cabinets, new sink, and we had to end up doing a new fridge, but that's the existing stove. Ended up doing a new hood, but that was the existing dishwasher. So looks, new light fixtures, everything painted. There's that laundry closet we added, so there was no longer laundry kind of floating in the kitchen. At this point, we didn't get the dryer stacked on it yet. Going through, that's the living room, just, you know, there's our dryer. But just continuing to kind of work on it. And this was, we got it pressure washed, got the front door repainted. And then finally, oh, this is the girls have moved in now. So now I've got pictures of their, you know, looks a little, I got those fresh pictures with them, nothing in it, because I want to show those to the appraiser. Because you can tell that it kind of looked a little bit better before their stuff was in it. But this is a really good picture of exactly how we changed the floor plan. And it wasn't a really big deal to do. And at the very end, I finally got, if I can find them, I may not have uploaded them. We just got the front walkway done. Got a whole new porch and patio put in the front, and that just happened this week. I don't know what I did with the photos on those. But yeah, I just want to show you, and that this all cost us, I haven't added everything up. I don't have everybody's, but we had all electrical redone, all plumbing redone. We had HVAC ductwork redone, and we also had a roof repair. About a quarter of the roof, you can see that it's a hip roof. About 1/4 of it had to be replaced because there had been a leak. And then everything we did with the kitchen, the bathroom, and not a lot in the bedrooms. It was all just like paint and caulking. Did not refinish the hardwood floors, and probably, oh, I see they love the yellow door. I know, isn't that cute? Well, my house next door is blue with a red door, and it's the exact same house. So they look like Minnie Mouse and Mickey Mouse houses. They're really cute, but they're in Chapel Hill. Like, again, like I was saying, like, oh, do plain and boring things. Well, you know what? These are in Chapel Hill and Carrboro. People do weird things there. So not to mention, these are my houses, and they're just going to get appraised for refinance. I'm not selling them anytime soon, if ever. My guess is we spent about $15,000 on everything. But it's, you know, now how is that gonna, it probably is gonna translate to about $30,000 of appraised value. So I doubled my money. You know, not real great in the rehabbing world, but again, this is a house also too that's rented, that I have tenants paying off my mortgage. Oh, square footage, it's 960. This house is 30 by 32 feet. If I show you, actually, oh, this one's 33 by 29. The other one is 30 by 32. That's next door. That's like the same house, 32, but whatever that amounts to, it ends up being 957. So right at about 960 square feet. And I did have some other, I had other photos that should, but I'm not sure exactly where I have it, because I had some rear photos of it. It has a big rear deck, a big deep yard, but again, just something you can do, like looking at these cabinets. I kind of looked at them and I said, you know, they're wall cabinets, like they haven't gotten gross. You know, base cabinets get gross, right? Either the one under the sink, you know, people have let it leak, or the ones, you know, people have stepped on them to reach a higher cabinet, or they've ripped the doors off. I don't know why base cabinets get beaten up so much worse. But I was like, oh, I just need to have cabinets that have roughly the same profile. And what I put in were just Home Depot already finished in white. like nothing special. And they're about the same profile, you know, once these were painted white and the same hardware went on, you know, you can't tell. Here's the funny thing is once this was all done, the girls and their moms, and this was really like, I shouldn't be renting to 4 freshmen because we had 8 helicopter parents. I mean, the girls were incredibly sweet. And honestly, I was very impressed with one of them. For 18, 19-year-olds, she hounded me about it really, but nicely, like, because she found the house. I accidentally on my Yardy Rent Cafe, I had taken it down from being marketed on the marketing site, but I had accidentally saved it and put it back up there. And I was surprised to get her call. And it was like September, October. I was like, oh, I didn't realize I had it up for rent because we're working on it. And she's like, oh, but it's perfect. We really want it. Will you let 4 of us live there? It's only a 3-bedroom, but 2 of them they were in dorms. They were living in doubles anyway. She's like, well, we were living in dorms anyway. And we just don't want to go back to the dorms because if they close the dorms, they're sending us all home again. So we want to get our own house and just stay. She was really mature and just like, you know, she was like, we don't really need it till December, January. I was like, okay, that works. So it was really kind of a fluke because we knew we had tenants coming in all this time. And they were just really actively involved. They came by and looked at it, which was good and bad. I didn't let them in the house. I didn't want them in the house while it was being worked on, but I did find out from some of my workers that the parents were doing that. But these helicopter parents were unbelievable. Like, oh, I'm not sure I will ever do that again. But the funny thing is, literally every single one of them, it was that light fixture over the kitchen sink. I don't know if I zoom in on it. It's just, I think I got it on Wayfair. I think it was, you know, $79. I purposely wanted one that had 3 bulbs that would take. That's another thing with light fixtures. Be very careful. You don't get the ones that have the weird expensive. They only take the weird expensive bulbs. I always try and get ones that take the regular. I think it's called is it the E26 base, like a regular light bulb base, and will take at least 60 watts or multiple 60 watts. Right? Because you don't want to get one that only takes some weird bulb that's only 40 watts. And you're like, well, why did I even put a light fixture there? Because it doesn't even shine any light, you know? So I wanted a lot of light. So I purposely, but they all love that. That and the barn door were the 2 things that like, they all went, oh, I love that light fixture. This was an accident. This was supposed to be the hallway light fixture and the electrician put it in the wrong room. And he was fumbling so many things. I just said, forget it. Leave it there. I don't want you to mess with anything else. Like, fine, we have an ugly light in the middle of the kitchen. Yeah.
Do you, April Williams is asking, do you have a sort of ballpark for a standard per square foot rehab cost in the Triangle area? She's asking one for minor, moderate, and major rehabs.
I don't do it like that. I create a spreadsheet, and I put everything in the spreadsheet as my estimate. What I estimate it'll cost, and then what it actually, you know, comes in at. And, you know, I do kind of have a long laundry list somewhere of sort of all those, but it's all the housing components, right? It's going to be like, and we're not going to do all of them. So I really don't, I say we rarely do anything that's as little as this, like $15,000. Again, so many things weren't done, right? Almost everything we have done has ended up in the $30,000 to $50,000 range. So it's been, because it's been a bigger house and it's been a lot of major work. I mean, you have to think about your major systems, right? All of those are going to be in you know, the tens of thousands. The HVAC, you know, if you're going to be doing 2 HVAC units, let's say a 2-story, you're going to be at $12,000, or, you know, so you've got roofing is one too, by the way. Shop around. I hear people getting roofing estimates for $12,000 and $14,000. It's like, shit, we've never paid more than $4,000 for a roof, you know? So shop around, you know, and know that you're going to use people only a few times. But I honestly don't have sort of, you know, I say under 15 to 20 for something that's just a light rehab with the cosmetics. By the time you get into cabinets and appliances, think about just a set of appliances can be $3,000 or $4,000.
Okay, our time is up, but we do have a couple more questions if you don't mind. One, what's the smallest space you need to accommodate a stackable washer dryer?
It depends on the washer dryer. Our washer and dryer here were 27 inches square, but we actually made this closet about 36 inches no, more than that, 30, yeah, no, 36 inches square. So we have 9 inches. So it's really going to depend on the stackable. Most of them are going to be about 30 inches square, and you're going to want at least that extra 6 inches on all sides, you know, on at least one side, if you can put it to one side. So I would definitely, you know, you're going to read up and they're going to tell you that you need 42 inches, but that becomes, we've put them in really small, but somewhere around the 36 inches square, if you can get a small stackable.
Okay, and last question, what are your thoughts on relocating the water heater to the attic?
Me personally, I would never live with that. I've relocated water heaters out of attics before because water heaters leak, and you don't want something that leaks, could leak down 2 stories and ruin ceilings and floors and wiring and stuff. If you have to move, there's a lot of creative places to move water heaters. You can get those low boys and move them a different place in the crawl space. If it's a slab house, I've seen a lot of houses, they build almost that little like water heater hut on the outside of the house. It's all insulated.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay, I know I said last question, but we're gonna sneak one more in. This is really the last one, so don't send any more, y'all. Alicia is asking, are new air conditioners required now since the refrigerant requirements have changed?
Well, get this, air conditioning is never required.
Yeah, that's right.
Dirty little secret in these environmental zones that the country is in. For code, we do not require air conditioning in our climate. Good luck selling a house without one. But yeah, I mean, if you're going to put in a new it depends on how old the old air conditioning is. You can sometimes get that old refrigerant back to like the 10 or 15 years ago, but you're unlikely to get the one that was like 20 to 30 years ago. And we have a rental in Cary that was my husband's old house. And we almost got that old gas pack to last 40 years. House was built in 1977. We wouldn't even talk about it. We were like, shh, don't say it because it'll hear us and it'll break. It went until 2015, just shy of its 40th birthday. But that was the reason our HVAC guy finally said, he goes, I have done everything I can, and I can't get the parts. I can't get the refrigerant. I can't get anything. It's got to go. So it's going to depend on that age. And by the way,
Wow. Well, everything has been, the tips that you've given has been great. You've certainly given me a lot of ideas for my house.
I would say on HVAC, if it's a heat pump, there's going to be a little tag somewhere on the outside of it. Get a good close-up picture of that. That serial number will tell your HVAC guy when it was built, where it was built. They can look up everything based on that serial number. So usually down at the bottom, like a little metal plate. So definitely do that if you're thinking about buying a house. Try and get the picture of the plate on the HVAC unit because you can get a bunch of information from that. But yeah, I'd love to answer any questions in the future. I will send you guys my list of rehab, ideas, do's and don'ts, and appraisal problems. And love to speak or just do a Q&A. If you guys have a time where you just want to do a Q&A, because we didn't get a lot of it this time, I'm always happy to do that.
You know what, Ingrid, maybe we could have you back for a prep on this, prep class on this topic. Would you? Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yay.
Okay. I'd love to talk about real estate.
We'll plan on it.
Awesome. Well, you guys have a good day.
You too. Thanks for coming.
Thanks so much, Ingrid.
Bye, everybody. Stay safe.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Thanks for attending.
Okay, I'm a little perturbed